Hi there, welcome to Carcassonne Champions. Today with adrear versus majkls. Majkls recently became a master, I think even on stream during the Champions League qualifications. He managed to secure a second place in one of the brackets by, in the end, beating Stephen Chung, if my mind serves me well. And before that, my teammate Loishi. He's definitely the underdog today, even though he reached the 700 level there. But his opponent is none other than adrear with a top rating of 817, currently rated a 732, and usually found somewhere in between 650 and 800, at least in these last 3 years, maybe even. Yeah, this was 3 years ago. So definitely the favorite today. Quite likely adrear is the strongest Ukrainian player there is. At least one of the most consistent on this top level for sure. Let's quickly take a look, and these two opt for a tournament, which should then start any second now. Let's keep our fingers crossed that BGA's servers work tonight. There were quite a lot of problems today, at least multiple times when I checked something. Servers weren't responsive, so let's hope these two will get their games in without hiccups. Looks like the usual delay with tournaments at the, let's say, rush hour. So if you have the option, try to go for other starting times than European evening. Looks to me like the most busiest time for BGA. In fact, we could actually check. Yeah, oh, another outage which I didn't even witness. Let's check for today. Yeah, as I said, multiple ones. Doesn't really bode well, but let's hope it works out for our protagonists here. So, quickly check. majkls started with the city, then adrear over here. majkls claimed the fields pretty early to do so, when you could also claim a cap, which then fell to adrear. Both scoring cities. And majkls claimed the road, also put the road end there for him to take. And if adrear claims the city, well, at least 2 road points would go to this blue meeple there. Yeah, adrear would, of course, love to attack this road, but endangering the city definitely isn't up on his agenda. So quite likely just taking a few points on the left side might work as well. Yeah, This here might be due to two daggers already being gone. Else I would think you would have taken the city at the bottom and just waited to get a cap to close this and not risk a blue attack from the left side. Adrear took this loop road here. Quite likely won't close this before the city is closed. Interesting approach by blue. Leaving this empty, hoping to get quite likely a Dorito to attack yellow city. Or at least take this one away and restrict options to close this city, which you should do now. Some cases you might be able to attack it nonetheless, or at least kill the square, which would work out in blue's favor, of course, winning the mini battle in the end. Quite likely with a2-5, once squares around the monastery are built. Third farmer by adrear, taking this field very seriously, and why not? It's at 5, possibly 7 cities, and there are of course more to come here. Still a lot of open space to add more caps. Yeah, annoying quad crossroad for blue. Can't really do anything about his position. Could try to restrict this field attack here. Maybe hoping to kill both these squares and keep this one farmer separated from the main field. Of course, you would need to invest a meeple there, as not to give a 4-point road to yellow. Doesn't meeple the road end. Doesn't take the 2-point road. And yellow obstructs this square to take away one platform that would allow harassing on their city with tempo to at least take away many caps that would work there. Of course, they don't pull the trigger on a self-restriction. And now the city is perfectly safe. Oh, not 4. 3 vanillas left because blue just drew one. And if none hits, well, there are the starting tiles to connect all the fields. Yeah, looks great for yellow, actually. And it's about time that blue does something about this here. They don't intend to fight for the field. They for sure should do their best to limit it. And this should start on the top bottom left. But for now, I'd rather expect a timid move like this one here. trying to prevent limitation. I would rather like something like this, taking away options of adding most city pieces next to the monastery, even if it helps the monastery. On the other hand, blue is down by 12. There's the threat of yellow city to score 7 -1 plus 3 for the field. So 9 points. And a fieldless win seems to be tough for blue, but who knows? There are still 2 monasteries out there. Yeah, nice restriction by yellow. Yellow doesn't take the city. Not sure that was the right choice. Possibly. Let's refresh. Nope. No meeple there. Yeah, that surprises me actually, because there are 2 daggers for this square, so even a restriction from the left wouldn't be that problematic. And it's basically 12 points there for the taking for everyone. And quite frankly, I wouldn't even bother defending this. Not with the curve, at least. I just take the city now. Yeah. I have no clue why adrear didn't take it. I mean, he had 2 meeples in hand, so the monastery plus the city, both rather easy liberated. Interesting choice. Still puzzles me. Yeah, and exactly the move I would have expected from majkls. At least trying to curb the field on the left side. Yeah, restriction as expected with a straight, but again, there are still 2 daggers left. Yellow doesn't go for a total block. I'd rather go for some points here, which, if we take a look at the virtual scoreboard, seems to be correct. They need to still get points. Restriction from the correct side due to the dagger asymmetry. The left-handed daggers are gone. majkls gets the first of 3 vanilla caps. Yellow scoring 3, playing it safe, hoping to ideally close this city like that, with the Dorito to fill this one. Else, might go for it with the remaining vanilla, and then hoping to draw a Dorito afterwards. So blue closes their city at the bottom. And it's looking good. And they didn't do anything about yellow's field. Yellow claiming another one, which is at 6 points so far. Quite likely Kirillo took this one to exempt a blue field here. So yeah, looks like it. I mean, it might grow to 9 points if the city closed, but that's not that likely. And then there's blue city up top right now at 4 points, but there are still 4 Doritos out there, 1 with a shield. So scoring at least 6, although 3 of these 6 would also go to yellow's farmers on that field. But gaining this meeple will surely score at least 3 more points later. Yep, yellow has other plans though, taking away immediate city completion, and looks like it's time for blue to do something about yellow's city on the right side to at least create the threat of attack or harassment. Instead, he opts for 1 point to get a meeple back. Not sure that's really necessary with, was it 18 tiles left? Yeah, but if you go there, you then of course have to liberate the monk when you get the chance. Will we see this one? Or won't we? He goes for it, and blue immediately attacks. No splitter left. 1 Dorito and 1 horse left. So 2 pieces to connect. In this case, did I say horse? Cow, of course. In this case, the cow would be blue's preference, as there are no daggers to attack over here. Problem being, though, that there are still 2 starting tiles to re-attack. So blue might not even connect if they get the chance. Instead, they could just build up their side of the city or try to use city parts on their top city if this can't be closed anymore, which yellow could take care of like this. There is no dagger for this square left. It's worth 7 points, so doesn't strike me as needing this protection from a yellow attack. Yellow's down 3, gaining 7 doesn't win them the game with 2 meeples in blue's hands. Yeah, looks like blue might just add a point to the monastery. And especially there, as not to set up a better monastery square to use for yellow while they liberate the monk. Whoa, but yellow does go for the attack. And now that they don't have any meeple in hand, of course, blue connects immediately and now has the chance to take over this juicy 10-point city. Yeah, majkls with the monastery. I think this one here, trying to prevent yellow's attack if you want to be precise. Although the monastery alone might take care of winning this game. There's one thing he still should prevent, and that is liberation of this monk. And the curve fits very nicely to trap yellow's last salvageable meeple. But even if not, at 7 points, the best yellow could do would be to score exactly 7 with their last turn, if they get the monk back, of course. And that's just not enough, because for sure blue would find something to do with their meeple as well. Yeah, so 2 points about this one. The third farmer might have been a tad early, even though it didn't look problematic at all. So I wouldn't consider this to be a mistake. It was just, well, choosing one path, which in the end didn't work out, because the field, when this one was placed, was already at 5 cities, and only 2 were added later. That's definitely not enough if you invest 2 more farmers than your opponent there. But the main problem, at least from my point of view, was this city here, which I still don't know why, still don't understand why yellow didn't claim this. Again, they had 2 meeples. There were still 2 daggers left. Yeah, sure, restriction over here would be annoying. But I think leaving this there for anyone to take didn't serve them well, even if part of my assessment might be hindsight. So majkls with the upset in the first game. Let's see if Kyrillo manages to fight back in the second and gives us a decider. Let's take a quick look at the stats. Yeah. I mean, adrear got both road monasteries and used both well. Caps more or less equals, roads the same. More Doritos for adrear. Well, take Doritos over big cities any day. So doesn't look like the draw was bad or something. But again, it's not just about the pieces you get, but when you get them, of course. Like a quad city, which is, of course, a fine way to disturb your opponent's possible 8-pointer there. Nice one. building up an indirect restriction threat here. Also, very nice Ukrainian technique by adrear, playing against monastery and city at the same time. So if blue doesn't get a splitter here, this one controls these two for the time being. And even if blue gets the dagger, they might not even use it there, especially not after restricting yellow city on the right side even more. Adrear tried to force another of blue's meeple into the abyss, that is this cow here. This time blue gets an easy defense. Not sure why majkls wastes time. I mean, you have to meeple that monastery and it has to go there. Yeah, as this is already at 5 points, I would expect adrear to go up top, not care for this, not care for extending this. Yeah, and that might even be better than my suggestion, trying to go for a kill here, winning in this mini battle against blue's monastery for sure. Okay, doesn't go for the kill. He goes for a completion. The next Dorito, he threatens to close this city with 3 pieces, even though there are only 2 horses left. Blue doesn't go for the kill. So this will stay as is until someone pulls the trigger on placing anything right to it. Yeah, blue doesn't need to, especially not when they can harass this here. Could have also tried to restrict yellow city to a starting tile. But they'll do or try the starting tile restriction over here, and I'm pretty sure they'll execute it now. So starting tile of utmost importance to yellow. This monastery is dead. The city is still alive. There's only one starting tile left, and it could either land here or there. Yep, there is the horse set up. And therefore blue closes the city to get some leverage and try for a restriction over here, and doesn't use it next to the monastery where it under normal circumstances would have been placed. But at least they managed to kill this city meeple at 1 point even. So we still have 2 rotoritos in the deck, 2 regular ones, and yellow needs one. Even though the ideal piece over there would have been a cap, as that would leave them with 3 daggers to draw. Now they only have 2 rotoritos to get. So yellow needs one rotary toe and one horse each. That's roughly a chance of 58%, something, 57. Yeah. To get at least one each to close this city. And if not, it will be an uphill climb. And a pretty severe one. Nice kill, nice block. Even though there are still 2 daggers left, the problem about this situation is the usual diagonal squares problem. Can't do anything here without endangering this, and vice versa, but not after yellow closed this one. Wouldn't mind this. Scores 0 points, but it still gives blue the chance to get this one back, and also with a curve defend their city. On the other hand, they have this one, but I'd never close this. No, not never, but in most cases wouldn't close this until the starting tile arrives. Rather keep this open as dumping ground for big city tiles. Might be a ruin, so closing this at 4 points would definitely be too early. And there's this square, of course, in the middle. So if yellow gets the horse, at least blue would get the meeple back. The problem with this one here, though, is that this also creates a nice road for likely yellow to take. Yellow could even pre-close that one if they happen to get a crossroad. Yeah. Hey, Matt. Yeah, and I would expect yellow to do this, because unless both rotoritos are gone, blue will never go there. I mean, they might, if it's their last chance, to score these points and, for example, hope for a 50-50 up top. But that one option is gone. So yellow with the perfect filling piece up top. And blue expanded their city, closed it now. Now we'll see if this works for them. So they have a 50-50 here. Yellow has at this point, even better than 75% shot. Might even already be almost 80. Nice field for blue up top. Still 3 cities to close there. Problem being that they need the same city pieces in 3 squares, but they might not even use a vanilla here for 1, and possibly getting the meeple back if they can score 7 points, especially not after yellow's monastery that nicely harasses blue city. So just to illustrate, if blue goes there, a restriction to the one and only remaining dagger might follow immediately. The math is we don't have 72 tiles left. We had 26, I think, right? Nah, but it's not nearly 80, it's 76, around 76. And right now, it's way less, of course, as blue just got the first horse. And use the horse to, let's say, kill yellow's road. Because if yellow gets the horse, they definitely close their city there. So and it's a race for caps in the end. Blue dumps the twin caps there, hoping to draw, of course, still the starting tile. But it won't matter. Yellow gets the horse, closes the city, snatches a 5-point road. And now are at plus 30. And this is quite likely game over. But blue still has a few setups left. They sure have options to reduce the difference at least. Yeah, like this one. So getting the starting tile, adding another farmer with the curve, taking this field over. Could work out nicely for them. Yeah, and yellow takes this away, but there would be other options to still attack this field, but it's just not worth enough to account for the 28%, 28 points on the virtual scoreboard. Also, this doesn't even work after yellow's farmer over here because that owns this field. So even the starting tile isn't critical anymore. Yeah, Otto, sure. It's just a tiny difference. I mean, just think about still 3 tiles to go and there are 2 left. I mean, it changes over time. It changes when you check whether you are the next one to draw or if your opponent is the next one to draw. in the end, percentages are percentages, and the small difference, they matter in the long run. They definitely don't matter in a single game. I mean, yellow's chances to close the city were slightly above 50% and didn't look problematic at all, right? They just got this one, then their chances were better than 75%, dropped to roughly 50, and in the end, they got just the piece they needed. That's Carcassonne in a nutshell. And even the starting tile to rub a bit more salt in Blue's wounds. And he even goes for this up top. Yeah, why not? And is successful. Against the odds. So again, quick look at the stats. Are they for real? Looks almost the same as last game. At least in terms of monasteries. Yeah, totally fine. Nothing extraordinary there. Yeah, and that's the problem with big cities if you don't act against them. Blue could have killed this square. They didn't. They didn't want to lose a mini battle, monastery versus city. Maybe the game, well, not maybe, surely the game would have taken a different path if they had invested one piece to kill the city once and for all. Yeah, exactly. In the end, it makes sense to consider the probabilities in, let's say, in the end of mid game, or from the later mid game to the early end game. Probabilities change quite significantly, and I mean, I think one should keep that in mind. Sometimes it's just surprising how low or high specific options are in the end. Yellow builds up a city up top. Looks like a threat, but not a huge problem for blue. Both taking monastery squares, with the better one going to yellow. But blue quite likely was a bit maybe apprehensive of taking this one due to the road at the bottom. Not so sure their monastery was the better idea. Giving an option to yellow to attack this, and also they'd rather restrict the field here anyway. So road end over here, but building up monasteries from the top wouldn't have been a problem. It looks like it didn't really matter. Blue will attack Yellow City now. Created this double threat of harassing the monastery, either attacking or restricting Yellow City, but with all daggers still out there, a restriction up top wouldn't have been that troublesome. Adrear with the perfect monastery defense, also attacking the city. And something is off over here. But 5 meeples of adrear are on the board, so maybe these two will get back to order once one of them lands on the board. So won't refresh now. Yellow took away another option to attack this city. Not convinced this was absolutely necessary, and with my road there, I really don't like this one. There's only one starting tile left, and just consider this restriction. That would have been devastating for blue when they already have a precariously placed city meeple, rather two, and two others entangled in Yellow City. Losing this road here would definitely be not their preference. So nice secondary field. Would expect blue to snatch it, maybe even now, while also giving them a chance to harass Yellow City there. Okay, they doesn't make sense to me. Sure, Yellow is more likely to get this one back, but you also, in some cases, open up the field to the left side. But I mean, I understand it. At least it takes away the crossroads, so Yellow can't liberate the monk with tempo of closing a 4-point road. So yeah, it makes sense. I'm still not convinced that it was the better move or has more upside than trying to harass Yellow City there. Might be correct though. Let's see. Guess Otto has something to say. Oh, Helge. Yeah, hi Helge. So Helge's suggestion is that majkls took away this road monastery. Yeah, he did, but I guess if Yellow were to get the road monastery, they would have used it over here. anyway. But we see, so more development here. There are 3 Doritos left, only 2 pieces up top. Oh, and blue had the remaining splitter in hand. So 2 pieces to connect there. Yellow with a nice self-restriction, but there are still 3 daggers left, and blue connects. Should connect. Not sure what majkls is really thinking about. I mean, this threat alone sure induces a reaction by yellow. If they get a chance to react, that is. But now they only had a shoddy monastery in hand to restrict closing options of blue's road meeple. For now, I'd consider the dagger, the monastery, and crossroads critical. Although, let's remove let's add the rose. But road monastery goes to yellow, which is compensation enough to cover the spread on the virtual scoreboard, which was existent due to blue's city takeover. Multifaceted, I don't know, 3-edged sword. So attacks and restrictions in 2 squares are possible. And quite frankly, with 3 pieces to go here, if an attack from the right side were to happen, but only 1 connection piece on the right side, I'm not convinced taking the 4 points was the right choice. Yeah, Kyrillo sure goes for this attack. Still 2 pieces left to connect. And there are 2 crossroads left. So he might opt for the double attack now. But he doesn't. Okay. And now the meeples are definitely wrong. Yeah, I would have loved the content move here. Going all in on the 1 remaining cow. But he doesn't need it. For yellow, it would work to get a dagger here, adding 3 points to their field, claiming 6 points and the meeple back. Maybe even using a quad city up top to extend their side. Would work just fine, and they might not need to tie the city. But if it doesn't work, we surely have to talk about this move. I mean, a meeple here basically is a roughly 50% shot at winning the game. Because if yellow were to take over the city, it's definitely game over for blue. Their side is worth, I don't even know, 18 points or something. 17. So second meeple over here, 34-point flip. Plus anything you get there as well. So yeah. Okay. Hey Kolpnik. I mean, if blue doesn't know what they want to do, maybe just get the meeple back and keep it for later. They could take the field. And just in case have an attacking option against the city. Problem then, though, would be that they only have 2 meeples in hand, so I'd really use the penultimate road end. What is road here? This meeple for sure will score more points. And gives you options. Plus, this here also creates an option to attack the field. If you wanna or if you must. Because if yellow closes, this also sets up a field unification. And then blue might need to counter somewhere. This here basically takes care of many, if not most, re-attacking options against this city. And notably, it's not placed over here because then there would be a prime re-attacking option available for blue. Crafty is lamenting this one. No, maybe not the positioning, but leaving a meeple there to at least have a field where you could use or dump some of the caps, as the one up top is rather restricted. And this one, this road end, I mean, if this works for yellow, they'll be glad. So blue has to add a farmer there, but they don't get anything to go there. But I mean, quite likely they won't mind getting the cow. So yellows try to tie the city up top. Doesn't work out for them. Now they are at minus 13. But thanks to yellow's blue setup here, they could score these 13 points with a dagger. not anymore after blue finally got a piece to take the field and ensure this here would be tied once yellow closes their city. And the biggest problem for yellow is they don't have the right dagger in hand. Else they might still have a chance. On this one, seems to not work. So what could they do? Not much, right? This here would score 6, 10, but then -3, so only 7. And they are down by 10. They could set up a double field up top for 9 points, but that's not enough. Yep. Penultimate dagger in blue's hands, but it doesn't even matter anymore. Ah, okay. Now I get what Crafty was saying. Yeah, instead of the rows here, rows on the right side, harassing the square. Yeah, sure seems better than this one. So that definitely was a mistake. Because I'm pretty convinced their intention with this one wasn't to attack the field, even if it turned out to work very well for them. There's still one thread left though. The time could run out. Now he's cutting it close. Or is it server problem? Let's refresh. Doesn't look like it. And majkls will just run out of time. Why? Why is it yellow now? What's wrong here? Okay, something is wrong with the interface. majkls never run below 11 seconds left. In the end, even claimed another city there. So, well, I'd consider this an upset. And I think even the biggest upset so far in the league stage. Um, yeah, Nicola, exactly. I showed the server stats earlier. It started this morning, and I think they had 5 or 6 outages in the afternoon. So at least this match wasn't affected severely. Yeah, definitely congratulations to majkls. Good job here, for sure. Um, of course, drawing the splitter at the right time, but I think adrear can't really complain. Drawing the monastery here was definitely ideal. So let's take a look at, well, if I find the right one, we go at their schedules. So majkls with the second win after beating Tompa looks more and more likely to gain a playoff spot. Yeah, I'd even consider him to be unfavored versus Vega Orion, and in the other two, I'm not sure. Marty definitely didn't convince me in his game versus Fanatical Lime yesterday. CT, well, majkls very well could win 3 more matches, but he could also lose all 3. Might be a tautology, though. And adrear here should be the favorite in all 3 matches. Toughest opponent being Joao Margarito. Yeah. Interesting. Definitely interesting. So, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you around. Bye-bye.